There is a prayer that the man you know as Jesus spoke before every single recorded miracle in the Gospels. Not one of them. Every one of them. And it is not the prayer you were taught in Sunday school. It is not the Our Father. It is not the Lord's Prayer the way you grew up reciting it. It is something older, something Hebrew, something spoken in the language he actually used, and something that was quietly removed from almost every sermon preached in the last 1700 years. Before he fed the 5,000, he said it. Before he raised Lazarus from the grave, he said it. And the text tells you plainly, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me." Before the Last Supper, he said it over bread. He said it over wine. He said it over fish. He never, not once, performed a miracle without speaking this prayer first. And here is what almost no modern teacher will tell you. That prayer was not English. It was not even Greek. It was Hebrew. It was a bracha. It was the exact blessing any Jewish man of his time would speak. And it followed a pattern so precise that the ancient sages called it a technology. My name is Naomi. I come from a line of teachers who have carried the Hebrew roots of this knowledge for generations. Before my grandfather, before his father, back through a lineage that preserved the original prayers when the world around them was trying to erase them. And what I am going to show you today is the exact pattern of this prayer, why it works, and what happens when you begin to use it the way Yeshua used it, not as a request, but as an acknowledgement. I want to warn you before we go any further. If you listen to half of this teaching and leave, the fragment you walk away with will not carry the power. This is not one of those videos where you can skip ahead. The miracle is in the sequence. The sequence is in the sentence. And you will only hear the full sentence if you stay with me to the end. Before we continue, I want you to type the word modim into the comments right now. Modim. It is the Hebrew word for we acknowledge, and it is the first word of the prayer Yeshua spoke. Type it now. When you name something publicly, you create a spiritual agreement with the intention that is about to come through you. For most of your life, you were probably taught that prayer is asking. You were taught to go to God and list what you need. Pay my rent, heal my mother, give me this job, bring me this breakthrough. And if you grew up in church, you were told to end it with, "In Jesus' name, amen," and the rest was faith. I want to be gentle with you because this is not your fault, and the people who taught you were not trying to deceive you. They taught you what they had been taught. But I need to tell you that this is not how Yeshua prayed. It is not what he modeled. And the reason so many of your prayers have felt like they are hitting an invisible ceiling is that you are using a pattern he specifically warned against. Yeshua said, openly, publicly, recorded in Matthew 6, "Do not pray like the ones who believe they will be heard because of their many words." And yet, what did the tradition do within a few centuries of his death? It built entire liturgies of many words. Long petitions, longer requests, begging, pleading, bargaining with heaven. None of that is wrong in a general sense, but it is not the pattern of power. The pattern of power in Hebrew thought is not the pattern of petition. It is the pattern of bracha. A bracha is not a request. A bracha is an acknowledgement. You do not open a bracha by asking. You open it by recognizing who God is, recognizing what has already been set in motion, recognizing the good that is either already present or about to be made present. The Hebrew term for this recognition is hakarat hatov, which translates roughly as recognition of the good. And the sages taught that a person who speaks hakarat hatov before the gift has arrived is a person the gift already belongs to. Think of it like this. You are standing at the door of a room where a feast has already been prepared for you. The cooks have done their work. The table is set. But the door is locked from the inside of your own mouth. Petitionary prayer is you standing outside the door shouting at the cook. Bracha prayer is you speaking the word that unlocks the door, because it is the word the door was built to answer. The door does not open to please, the door opens to thank you. And Yeshua, being a Jewish rabbi trained in this exact tradition, knew this more intimately than almost anyone who has ever lived. So let me tell you how I first came to understand this, because I did not learn it in a classroom. I learned it in my own kitchen on a Tuesday afternoon when I was 29 years old and almost out of hope. It was late October. The leaves outside the kitchen window had gone the color of an old copper coin, and I remember standing at the sink with my hands under warm water because I was too tired to even dry them. I had 2 children under the age of 5. My husband and I had just been told we were being asked to leave the apartment we had rented for 3 years because the owner was selling the building. I had $41 in the checking account, and the week before, a letter had arrived from a creditor that I had not had the courage to open. That morning, my grandmother called. She was 87 years old at the time and still sharp, still teaching, still reading. And she could tell in 3 sentences that something was wrong with me. I tried to hide it. I was proud. I did not want her to know we were struggling again. But she said one thing on the phone that I have never forgotten. She said, "Naomi, you have been asking. You need to stop asking. You need to start acknowledging." I did not understand her at first. I thought she was being cryptic, the way elderly people sometimes are. But then she said, "Before you cook tonight, I want you to do something. I want you to stand at the counter, and before you touch a single thing, I want you to say the blessing. Not after you cook, before. Say it over food that does not yet exist. Say it as if it is already on the table. Say it as if the meal has already been given to you. And then cook." And she hung up. I will be honest with you. I did not do it that night. I was too tired. I was too cynical. I was raised in a Jewish home, but I had drifted far from the rituals, and standing at my counter to whisper a blessing felt theatrical. It felt like something I was too educated and too exhausted for. That was my failure. I waited almost a week. 7 full days I sat with her words and did not obey them. Then on the following Monday morning I did it. I stood at the counter. I spoke the bracha over food I had not yet made, as if it were already there. I spoke it slowly. I said in Hebrew the words of acknowledgement for bread that comes from the earth, for fruit of the vine, for the sustenance I was speaking into the day. And then I cooked. And nothing happened. Nothing happened that day. Nothing happened the next day either. I want you to hear me say that because it matters. This is not a story where a miracle arrives at sunset. On Wednesday, 48 hours after I had spoken the prayer, my phone rang. It was a woman I had not spoken to in almost 2 years. She had been a client of mine before I had stopped taking private work to stay home with the children. She said, "Naomi, I do not know why I am calling you, but I woke up this morning with your name on my mind. Are you still doing any consulting? I need help." That week, I took on 3 hours of her work, for a rate I had not earned in years. It was not a fortune. It did not pay off the apartment. But it was the first unmistakable moment in 3 years where the channel had reopened. Now I want to show you exactly what was happening in that moment, because it is not mystical magic. It is spiritual mechanics. And once you see how it works, you cannot unsee it. The problem that most people face with prayer, and I am speaking to the person watching this video right now, at whatever hour it is in your part of the world, is that your prayers have taught your mouth the posture of lack. Every time you ask, your nervous system records the request as a confession that you do not have. The mouth that says, "Please give me," is a mouth that is confessing absence. And the spiritual realm does not respond to confessions of absence by filling them. It responds by matching them. You speak poverty into the air 100 times a day, and then you wonder why poverty keeps arriving at your door. It is not that God is deaf. It is that you have been speaking the wrong frequency. You look at your bank account and you say there is not enough. You look at your bills and you say, "I cannot keep doing this." You look at the end of the month and you say, "I do not know how we are going to make it." Every one of those sentences is a bracha in reverse. Every one of them is a blessing turned backward. And every day this continues, you build the walls of the room you are trying to escape. The The root cause is something the Hebrew tradition has understood for 3,000 years. The sages taught that the universe has two doors. One is the door of chesed, which means loving kindness, the door of overflow, abundance, and unearned gift. The other is the door of din, which means judgment, the door of measurement, of scarcity, of exactness. Every word you speak is a key turning in one of those two doors. A bracha, a word of acknowledgement, a word of thanks before the thing arrives, turns the key in the door of chesed. A complaint, a fear spoken aloud, a request soaked in worry, turns the key in the door of din. The modern financial life of most people is an exhausting, unending turning of the key in the door of din, over and over again, morning, noon, and night. And then we wonder why judgment keeps arriving instead of overflow. Yeshua knew this. He was trained in it. When he stood before the 5,000 and held the bread, he did not say, "God, please multiply this for us." He lifted his eyes and he thanked. The Hebrew verb there, in the Hebrew that Matthew and Mark are translating from their source, is the verb to bless in the acknowledgement sense, not the request sense. He was not begging, he was acknowledging. He was using the key that opens the door of chesed, and the door opened. So here is the practice, and I want you to hear it with precision, because precision is what separates a prayer from a pattern. This bracha has 3 movements, not 4, not 2, 3. And every movement must be spoken in order, because the order itself is the technology. The first movement is the opening of acknowledgement. You begin with the word Baruch, which means blessed. Or, if Hebrew feels foreign to you, you begin with the words, I acknowledge. Not I ask, not please. You begin by saying, I acknowledge that this already belongs to me, because it has been set aside from the foundations of the world for me to receive. You are not lying. You are not pretending. You are lining your mouth up with the eternal truth that provision has already been prepared for you. Your speaking does not create the provision. Your speaking opens your vessel to it. The second movement is the naming of the specific good. This is where most people fail because they keep it vague. You do not say, bless my finances. You say, I acknowledge the work that is coming to me this week. I acknowledge the client who has my name in their mind. I acknowledge the door that is about to open that I did not knock on. You speak it as if you are reading out the receipts of something that has already been ordered. This is the same pattern Yeshua used over the 5 loaves. He did not say, bless the people. He held the bread and he named what was about to move through it. Specificity is the voltage of the prayer. Vagueness is the short circuit. The third movement is the release. This is the part almost no one reaches because they hold on too tightly. After you have acknowledged and named, you must release. You must finish the prayer with a sentence that closes the vessel. In the Hebrew tradition, the sealing words are simple. It is done. Baruch Hashem. Blessed is the name. You are not making something happen. You are sealing the acknowledgement that it has already been set in motion. You release your grip. You return to your day. And you do not speak against the prayer afterward. Because to contradict a bracha with your own mouth after you have spoken it is to break the vessel you just built. So here is what you do today, before you go to sleep tonight. You choose one area of your financial life, the one that is pressing on you most right now. You stand up. Do not do this sitting down. The body matters. You speak the 3 movements aloud. Acknowledgement, naming, release. You do this once today. You do it once tomorrow morning, within 10 minutes of waking. And then you watch for the first fruits in the next 72 hours. Understand what you are watching for. You are not watching for a windfall. You are not watching for a check in the mail. You are watching for a sign of life. An unexpected phone call from someone you have not heard from in months. A small financial movement that does not entirely make sense. A sudden moment of clarity about a problem that has been circling in your head and refusing to resolve. These are the first fruits. They are not the harvest. They are the evidence that the door has opened. When they come, you acknowledge them aloud, out loud, specifically, by name. This is how you tell the spiritual realm that the channel is worth maintaining. What I have shared with you in this video is one piece. It is a real piece. If you apply the 3 movements exactly the way I have described them, what tends to follow, in the experience of people I have walked with, is a quiet shift within the first week, a softening, a small opening. But I want to be honest with you because you deserve honesty. One piece is not the whole architecture. The prayer Yeshua used before his miracles was part of a wider practice of bracha that shaped his entire day. There were blessings he spoke upon waking, blessings over washing, blessings over bread, over wine, over light, over moments of fear, over moments of joy. 100 blessings a day was the standard in his tradition. 100. A life woven in acknowledgement from the first breath of the morning to the last word before sleep. I have put the full sequence of these blessings, the ones Yeshua would have used, their Hebrew words, their English meanings, the exact moments of the day they are spoken, and the specific financial blockages each one was designed to address, into a resource I want to make available to you. It is not a collection of tips. It is the architectural plan for living a life of open doors rather than a life of locked ones. The link is in the description below this video. If you are serious about rebuilding your financial life on the same spiritual foundation that the Rabbi of Nazareth himself stood on, then you will not wait until the pressure on you becomes unbearable. You will move now, while the clarity of this teaching is still fresh in you. Everything you need to take the next step is one click away. Now, before we close, I need to warn you about something, because if I do not, you will likely abandon this practice in the first week and miss everything that is trying to reach you. Let me tell you what to expect in the next 72 hours, and what most people get wrong. After you speak the bracha correctly, not casually but with the full 3 movements, a test will arrive. I am telling you this now so you are not shaken when it happens. A bill may arrive that feels larger than you expected. A deal you were counting on may quietly fall through. A conversation may turn tense for reasons that make no sense in the moment. This is not evidence that the prayer has failed. This is the test of the vessel. The spiritual mechanics are asking you one question, and one question only. Do you trust what you just declared, or do you trust the panic of the moment that is testing it? This is where the pattern is usually broken. People speak the bracha in the morning. The test arrives in the afternoon, and by the evening they have spoken 10 sentences of complaint, 10 sentences of fear, 10 sentences of doubt. And every one of those sentences turns the key back in the wrong door. You undo the prayer with your own mouth. Please, do not do this. Stay in the posture of acknowledgement even when the test arrives. Speak less in those hours. Return to the 3 movements. Seal the vessel again. And watch what comes after the test has passed. Because in the pattern Yeshua modeled, the breakthrough is almost always waiting on the other side of it. What you receive today is not a technique. It is the same pattern that was spoken over bread before a multitude, over a grave before a resurrection, over a cup before a covenant, and you were given it today because you were meant to carry it. I want you to do 3 things for me before you close this video. The first is this. Type the word modim in the comments right now. Or if Hebrew feels foreign to you, write the phrase, I acknowledge. Write it as your declaration. I read every comment and I am watching for the names of the ones who chose to take this step today. The second is, subscribe to this channel and turn the notification bell on. Next week, I am going to reveal the specific Hebrew word that the ancient teachers spoke over money itself. A word that changes the relationship between a person and every coin that passes through their hands. If you are not subscribed with the bell on, that teaching will slip past you, and based on where you are right now, you cannot afford to miss it. The third, press the like button on this video before you leave. It is not for me. It is for the person who is silently searching tonight for exactly what you just heard. and the platform will only carry this to them if enough of you confirm that it mattered. May the door of Hesed open wide for you this week. May your mouth learn the language of acknowledgement. May your home fill with the overflow that has been prepared for you since before you were born. Shalom.